Good morning and welcome back to Self-Esteem Issues, Episode 2 with me, your host, Robin. So, why are we here? Let's get this thing started and a little more information about what's actually going to be going down in this podcast. I wanted to start a book club, but it was so hard to make everyone's schedule work. Let's face it, busy mamas, busy wives, busy workers, we're all just so busy. We all love to read, but we never can find the time to actually sit down and do it. So why is that? Nobody knows. Just we worry about everybody else around us and forget about what we love to do, and the time is just, precious. So I thought, hey, I also wanted to try podcasting, and maybe, just maybe, we could merge the two together. I mean, it worked for wine and orange juice, right? Mimosa. No, I'm not drinking one right now. I have my morning coffee, guys. Come on. But here I am. And not only is this a book club podcast merged together, it's a place for us to divulge our deepest, darkest secrets. Nah, guys, I'm just kidding. Unless you want to. But seriously, book talk, kid talk, work talk, anything you want to talk about, it fits here. So, cozy up, grab your favorite beverage, and listen up. I'm driving this crazy train, and it's going to be a borderline of not my monkey, not my circus, and a bit of a hot mess express. But I promise you will have fun. Oh, and accomplish that number you have been trying to achieve for how many books in a year you actually would like to read. Alright, where was I? I kind of fell off the tracks there for a moment and forgot why are we here, right? That's what I was trying to tell you. So redirecting some here. I picked a book, and it was stuck in my Kindle library for a good part of, I don't know, maybe a year. This series has 5 books in it, so I thought this would be a good place to start. It gives me at least 5 months of books, maybe 6, depending on how quickly I can read. I myself like fantasy as my first favorite genre, then mystery as my second. This book falls in fantasy. It's written by Anne Bishop, and the title is called Written in Red. A little bit about the book. It's a dark fantasy that introduces a world where supernatural beings rule the earth and humans live in settlements under their control. The story follows Meg Corbin, a blood prophet who can see the future when her skin is cut, as she escapes her human enslaver and finds refuge in a business district run by the others, taking a job as a human liaison and forcing a shapeshifter named Simon Wolfgard to comfort the conflict between humans and the others. So again, the genre is dark fantasy, fantasy fiction, romantic fantasy, or contemporary fantasy. In the end, fantasy. It's just about a woman with a dangerous gift, and she escapes her captor and finds safety with supernatural creatures who rule the world. Sounds good, right? Leading to a clash between species, just like your typical fantasy style books. There's the one main character, really, Meg Corbin, but also Simon Wolfgard, who is a shapeshifter. He's pretty prominent in the book. It is the first book, like I said, in a novel of the Others series with a 5-book series, and its themes are pretty much power dynamics, prejudice, survival, and the relationship between humans and the supernatural. So if this book sounds interesting to you, this is what I'm going to be talking about for about the next month. What I was planning is I'm going to break up the book into equal chapters and pretty much try to read that many chapters in a week and come on here and talk about just those groups of chapters. So spoiler alert, if you haven't read the book and you plan to, my apologies. Don't come on this podcast until you've read it. And then for those like me, who's an '80s baby, boom, Cliff Notes. So this will be the Cliff Notes version. You can just come on and you don't even have to read the book. But the point of this podcast is to read your book. So, either way works for me. Your choice. Dealer's choice, they say. So, sorry, I got lost in my thoughts there. So basically, I'm sorry, guys. So basically, what I'm looking for here is, I'll read the book. You can, if you get the book, you can follow along, and you're more than welcome to send me questions, points of the book. I will be adding in my own points. What I'm going to do is, highlight the pages of what I would like to talk about and just kind of get a good idea and good feel of the chapters and the book itself, just like we would in book club. We would discuss, have fun, laugh, and I mean, with my award winning personality, everything's going to go smoothly, right? Wink, wink, flutters eyelashes. This week I am going to crack open the book, and like I said, I'm going to read chapters 1 through 7. Don't think of this like homework, because that's not what I'm here for. Again, it's just a way for us to finally dust off those books and Kindles and accomplish that book track count that we've been all striving to get to. And this book for me will only be book 2, actually, of 2026, because the first book I read, I started it on January 1st, and I finally finished it. And now this will start my book 2. Oh, and also, actually, speaking of book trackers, if you go on Amazon, they have those trackers. You can buy them. Just search book counters.
They love.
For those, sorry, people are in my house. Like I said, I'm a busy mom, so they're trying to get my attention. Back to the book trackers. For those of you that still love physical paper books, these counters are great because you can just keep flipping through the numbers and adding in your books. And if you're a Kindle user, the Kindle does keep track of it for you. So, but for me, I love kind of the mix of both paper books and also Kindles. A paper book, it has you can hold it in your hand a little differently. It has the smell of books, libraries when you were a kid. And then I have a book light that I love using, so can't use that with the Kindle because the Kindle lights itself up. But also a Kindle has features and convenience, and it has more books for you to pick from. You don't have to search as much as you would for a paperback, right? But I go back and forth, to be honest with you. I'm kind of it depends on my mood, I guess I can say. So sometimes my bookish persona is a classist, which is a beauty like Belle, right? Beauty and the Beast. She loves her libraries of books. A classist is someone who appreciates those timeless, well-crafted stories from authors like Jane Austen or Charles Dickens, often prioritizing depth, tradition, and intellectual engagement over fast-paced modern trends. They love physical books over screens. You prefer, like I said, that feel, the smell, the presence of a book, just what you remember as a kid. You have stacks of books just waiting to be read, right? And then, you don't want to scroll. You want to flip through those nice, smooth pages, and it just feels like when you're sitting with your coffee or your tea or whatever your drink of choice is in a quiet, cozy, we'll call it moody space. You love that quiet and the slower paced version of a book, right? So that's, that can be that traditional classic. But then you have what we call like a digital reader, which sometimes you kind of just want to run through the modern way, right? You want to read that book as quickly as possible, and it's easier to bring the Kindle pop it in your purse, pop it in your work bag, in between work. Sometimes, if you're sitting at your soccer game watching your kid, because I have a soccer player, so there's times where practices, sometimes you just don't want to watch them practice. You're there for the games, right? So a nice ebook sometimes, or e-reader, I should say, Kindle. There all different ones out there, right? But you can have that sitting in your car with you, in your bag, and it's just an easier way to get through your book you're reading. Perfect place to do it, right? When you're sitting there waiting for your kid to do their thing, you can do yours. And also, did you guys know there's a quiz actually online that you can take, and it gives you, because you heard me say bookish persona, right? So you can take this quiz and it tells you, what your reading personality is. It's only 7 questions, and I took it and I got the exacting serial reader, which pretty much, if you heard me just explain a few things, it's literally what I kind of just told you. The exacting serial reader, it shows that you fit into 2 different groups. The exacting reader and the serial reader. This expression means like so many books, so little time. It kind of sums up your life. You love books, but you really have as much time to read as you'd like, which I just explained to you. That's an issue that I have. So you're very particular about the books you choose. You're also a publisher's dream, because once you discover a favorite writer, you tend to stick with them through thick and thin. I do stick with my writers, I have to say. Once I find a good writer, I tend to keep going back to find more books that publisher, that writer wrote. And but also I'm adventurous. Like, if you tell me, hey, Robin, I read this book, it's great, like, I'll look up that writer and see if it's something that falls in my category. I am, as of last year, trying to expand my horizons, different genres, other people, that's why I started the book club last year. But with our schedules, like I said, I think we read 2 books, and then I believe the holidays took over, and holidays is the worst time for anything but holidays, right? So everybody's hobbies and things get put on hold. But I started the book club hoping that different personalities would join, therefore getting different types of genres to break out into and see if I'm, if that interests me. And I was willing to give each book a try, whether I started reading it and I just couldn't. And I know you guys are out there, and there's just some books where you're like, I just can't get through this book, but a book club kind of forces you to, right? And sometimes maybe the first 10 chapters, and you're saying 10, my God, you want me to read at least 10. But sometimes you get into it, and halfway through the book, the characters change, or the scenery changes, or the plot twist, and you're like, wait, now this book is interesting. So you got to give it that good college try and just kind of get through it. But back to the persona test. If you go to, it's www.bookbrowse, bookbrowse.com, and you just go into it and you can answer the 7 questions, and it gives you a neat little paragraph at the end of what your book personality is. It's kind of just a cute little thing, nothing crazy. It's fun. But let's see. So I kind of veered off the whole topic there that I was starting with, but the main topic, I should say. But that's all right. You're still here. You're still listening. And I bet you bought a counter and already took the quiz, didn't you? Because if it was me, that's what I would have done. But yeah, so you know what I would love to see? If you guys post your quiz results, it would be cool to see how many different results we get, or how many same results we get, and see what kind of listeners that I'm receiving, and seeing if we're alike, if we're all different, just in a different way, to see who's expanding their mind with maybe fantasy, or those that just love it and they're here to keep reading more fantasy. And that would be fun. So I'd love to see that, if you guys could do that for me, and others can read, and we can just kind of build our community that way. But that's about it for this episode. I just wanted to give you an idea of the book. Again, it's written in red by Anne Bishop. Go out and grab your copy or download it on your Kindle. We're going to start reading it as of today, and then, if you join me next week, you'll hear about the first 7 chapters, and if I'm loving, liking, whatever, I will definitely be telling you as much as I can and giving you, my take on the book itself. And again, I'd love to hear your take. You can always put them in the comments, and, however you want to interact with me here. And that's about it for me today. So happy reading, own your power, and stay magical, and BB.